All right, let's jump right in with this deep dive. We've got a whole heap of reports and articles on Paraso Inc., PRSO on the ticker, and, well, it looks like they're making some waves.
Yeah, definitely some waves, though maybe not the kind you want to be caught in if you're an investor.
So let's set the stage for our listeners. What exactly does Peraso do?
In a nutshell, they're in the semiconductor business. Specifically, they focus on high-speed wireless connectivity using this technology called mmWave.
mmWave, okay. Not exactly a household term.
Right, not yet anyway, but it's all about delivering super fast internet, think 5G and beyond, without needing cables.
So kind of like stepping on the toes of those big cable companies.
You could say that. It's a growing market, huge potential there. But that's what makes Peraso's recent performance so puzzling. I mean, the semiconductor industry is projected to grow something like 19% annually. Some analysts even say more.
And yet, Peraso stock is down, what, 89% year-to-date? As of December 30th, that is. It's a real head-scratcher.
It is, especially when you consider that a bunch of analysts still have it rated as a strong buy, with a price target of $3.38. Like, how do you square that circle?
Yeah, something doesn't add up. So is this a case of analysts being wildly off base, or is there something more to the story? To figure that out, we got to dig into the details, starting with their Q3 2024 earnings, which weren't exactly stellar.
No, not exactly a home run. Revenue was down 14% compared to last year, ended up at $3.84 million. And their net loss actually got bigger, $2.71 million. Ouch.
Yeah, not painting a pretty picture. So are we looking at a company on the brink here?
Well, before we hit the panic button, there is one little glimmer of hope. Their earnings per share, or EPS, actually beat what analysts were predicting. Not by much, mind you, but it could suggest they're getting a handle on their costs.
So maybe a sign of, I don't know, smart management amidst the chaos.
Possibly, but we need to be careful about reading too much into it. The whole semiconductor industry is facing a tough time right now. You've got inventory gluts, product cycles that are insanely fast. It's not an easy place to be.
Right, so maybe Peraso is just caught in the current, so to speak.
That's part of it, for sure. But to really get a sense of whether they're sinking or swimming, we got to look beyond the industry-wide trends.
And speaking of turbulent waters, let's talk about that stock price. It's been on a wild ride. Bearish signals are flashing everywhere we look. The price is below both the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, and that MACD, oof.
Yeah, the charts are definitely not for the faint of heart. That 34% drop last week alone, that really stings.
So is it all doom and gloom then? No silver linings whatsoever?
Well, hold on a sec. The RSI, which measures how quickly and how much the price is changing, is sitting right around 55.75, which is pretty neutral territory. Not overbought, not oversold, just kind of there.
So not a clear signal either way, just hanging in there.
Exactly. And then there's the ADX. That one tells you how strong a trend is. Now, it doesn't say if the trend is up or down, but it's showing some signs of life.
Okay, maybe some potential energy building up, but which way will it break?
That's the million-dollar question. We've got mixed signals from the technical indicators. What about investor sentiment, though? The trading volume on December 30th, it was way higher than usual, over 528,000 shares.
That's got to tell us something, right? More people jumping on the roller coaster.
It could be a mix, really. Some folks might be panicking, seeing that price drop and bailing out. But others might be seeing a buying opportunity, Buy low, sell high, that whole thing.
So like a game of chicken, some hitting the gas, some slamming the brakes.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's not just about the charts and the numbers. We also got to factor in the news.
Right, like that $1.4 million contract they just scored in South Africa. Guess that could count for something, right?
Definitely a positive development, especially considering all the negative headlines lately. And don't forget about that investor conference they participated in earlier this month.
Oh, yeah, the benchmark company one. What was that, like a PR move to try and soothe investor nerves?
Could be part of it, but, it shows they're at least trying to be proactive.
Okay, so we've got this mix of good news and bad news. The question is, does it all balance out? Are these positive developments enough to outweigh the, let's be honest, pretty grim financial picture?
To answer that, we need to dig a bit deeper, look at their overall strategy. Are they making the right moves to navigate this crazy market?
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to see what they've got up their sleeves.
So to understand Paraso's strategy, we got to know their playing field, right? They're all about high-speed wireless connectivity, specifically in this mmWave frequency range.
There's mmWave. Yeah, we touched on that earlier. It's all about ditching the cables, right? Bringing broadband internet to the masses without all the wires.
Exactly. It's called fixed wireless access. And it's a market with massive potential, especially with 5G and even 6G on the horizon. People want faster internet, and they want it everywhere.
So Paraso's kind of like a disruptor, shaking up the old way of doing things.
Yeah, you could say that. They're going up against those giant cable and fiber optic companies. It's a bit of a David and Goliath situation.
Okay, I like that analogy. But even David had a good strategy. What's Paraso's game plan? How are they going to stand out in this crowded market?
Well, they've been busy on the acquisition front. Like, they recently acquired this company called C-Tune.
C-Tune, okay. What do they do?
They specialize in developing chips for 5G infrastructure.
So Peraso's beefing up their tech capabilities. Smart move, especially with 5G rolling out all over the place.
Right, and it could help them offer more integrated and maybe even cheaper solutions. But it's not just about acquisitions. They're also big on partnerships.
Partnerships. Who are they teaming up with?
Some big names, actually. Intel, even Facebook. They're working together on these next-generation wireless technologies.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive. Having those heavy hitters on their side definitely gives them some street cred.
Yeah, no doubt. It shows that Peraso brings something unique to the table, whether it's their mmWave know-how or their ability to move fast. These big companies see value in working with them.
Okay, so they're making strategic moves. Acquisitions, partnerships, it all sounds good on paper. But let's circle back to those analysts, the ones who are so bullish on Peraso. They're predicting a strong buy and a price target of $3.38. Are they just drinking the Kool-Aid, or is there something concrete behind that optimism?
Well, there are a few things driving that optimism. First, the market for mmWave technology, it's expected to explode in the next few years.
Explode. How big are we talking?
Some estimates put it at over $10 billion by 2026. That's a huge pie, and even if Peraso only grabs a small slice, they could see some serious growth.
Okay, a $10 billion pie, that's a lot of pie. But why Paraso? With all the competition out there, what makes them think this little company can snag a piece of that action?
Well, that brings us to the second factor. Peraso's got a solid track record of innovation. They've secured a bunch of patents for their mmWave technology, which gives them an edge.
So they're not just selling chips, they're also protecting their intellectual property.
Right, that's crucial in this industry. And then there's their market cap. It's still pretty low, around 50 million.
So some might say they're undervalued.
Exactly. And that's the bet some investors are making. They're looking past the current struggles and focusing on the long-term potential. They think Peraso can ride out the storm, use their technology, and capitalize on the growing demand for mmWave.
Sounds like a classic high-risk, high-reward situation.
It is. And that brings us to the big question. Should you invest?
Well, as always, we're not giving financial advice here. We're all about empowering you, our listeners, with information so you can make your own decisions.
We've laid out the potential rewards, and we've been upfront about the risks. The choice is yours.
One thing that might help you decide is their upcoming earnings announcement. It's on March 17th, 2025. That should give us a better idea of whether they're turning things around.
Yep. Keep an eye on that one. It could be a make-or-break moment for the company.
So we've got this interesting mix of warning signs and potential upside. They're in a tough market, their financials aren't great, but they're making moves, and the sector they're in, well, it's got a lot of room to grow.
Definitely. It's a story of contradictions, for sure. You know, one thing that really stood out to me is the disconnect between their current financial situation and those really optimistic analyst projections. A strong buy rating with a potential upside of like almost 189%. That's bold considering they're losing money.
Yeah, it does seem kind of counterintuitive. But maybe it just shows how hard it is to value companies in these new, rapidly growing sectors. The old ways of looking at things, they might not tell the whole story anymore.
True. The analysts are basically saying, look beyond the numbers, see the potential. They're looking at the size of the market, how fast technology is changing, and Peraso's place in all of that.
Yeah.
And they're betting that Peraso, with its tech and its partners, can make it big in the mmWave world.
It's a gamble, no doubt. But for some investors, that potential for massive growth, that's worth the risk.
And that's what makes the stock market so interesting, right? It's not just about how a company is doing right now. It's about hopes and dreams and expectations for the future.
So what does all this mean for you, our listeners? Well, if mmWave technology gets you excited and you're not afraid of a little risk, Paraso might be worth keeping on your radar.
But always do your research, understand the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Wise words. Always good advice in the world of investing. As we're wrapping up this deep dive into Paraso, one thing that keeps coming back to me is that their success might depend on things they can't really control. Like, it's not just about having the best tech or the right partners. It's about whether the whole world jumps on this mmWave bandwagon.
Right, exactly. For mmWave to really take off, a lot of things need to happen.
Yeah, like what?
Well, you need infrastructure upgrades, changes in regulations, and probably the biggest thing is people need to actually want it.
Right, it's not like everyone's just dying to ditch their current internet setup. There has to be a good reason to switch, something that makes it worth the hassle and the cost.
Absolutely. And that's where things get interesting, I think.
How so?
Well, what if Paraso's success and maybe the whole mmWave market depends on a bigger shift, like a shift toward needing to be constantly connected?
Constantly connected. You mean like even more than we are now?
Yeah, like way more. What if it all comes down to these new technologies that need super fast speeds and almost no lag, the kind of stuff mmWave can deliver?
You're talking about augmented reality, virtual reality, self-driving cars, all that futuristic stuff.
Exactly. If those things really take off, then suddenly mmWave isn't just some niche technology, it's essential.
So Peraso's not just betting on themselves, they're betting on the future of technology as a whole.
Yeah, kind of a big gamble, right?
It is. So if our listeners are thinking about investing in Peraso, what should they be watching for?
We'll definitely keep an eye on their earnings reports and their stock price, but also look at the bigger trends. Are those next-gen technologies catching on? Are governments investing in mmWave infrastructure? Are people actually starting to use this stuff?
It's about seeing the whole picture, right? Connecting the dots.
Exactly. The most important information might not be about the company itself, but about the world around it.
Well said. I think we've given our listeners a pretty good look at Peraso, a company facing some serious challenges, but also with a lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a gamble, but one that could pay off big time.
So what's the final takeaway for our listeners?
Well, if you're excited about the possibilities of mmWave technology and you're okay with some risk, Paraso might be worth considering.
But as always, do your research, understand the risks, and don't bet the farm.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, that's a wrap for our deep dive into Peraso. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time.